the sexual depravity in this country is overshadowed by, our much larger depravity of the war that's almost certainly going to happen in Lebanon over the weekend. I mean, because like
Yeah.
I feel like we didn't really get a chance to talk about this, but this story. I mean, we will talk about it more coming up on Monday. But like, I do just need to like give air to my thoughts here because like this truly has been one of the most extraordinary weeks in terms of news, and we've talked a lot of funny news here that is like certainly not of any real importance or like I think Matt Gaetz aside worthy of much moral condemnation. I think it's just funny because to see awful people trip over their own dicks, but the story about how like Israel turned every fucking pager, walkie-talkie, and consumer electronic device in Lebanon into a bomb and then blew them up all at once is genuinely mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's the thing that's like so fucking, I don't know, weird. Not weird isn't the right word because they kind of do this with like everything, but like there's like this weird inherent contradiction, I guess, in this whole thing where the people who are crowing about it, like Israelis and their American supporters, are saying this is the most targeted strike ever. This is the most like specific, low collateral damage, only hitting bad people ever, which is like, okay, so if you knew exactly who had them and exactly where they were, which you're implying, why did you blow it up in a fucking grocery store or a hospital? Like there's no angle that you can look at this where it isn't just flat out terrorism, because either they knew exactly where these fucking people were so they could do maximum damage, or they were just kind of exploded at random and given out at random, and they're saying all these guys were Hezbollah after the fact. In either case, it's like, what does illegal even fucking mean anymore in the international context? But like, definitely exactly what terrorism fucking is.
Yeah, and like, and evidence of that is like, once again, like I always turn to the New York Times to see how this will be parsed. And the headline on this from Patrick Kingsley, a guy we've talked about many times before on this show, was like, the headline was something along the lines of like, Israel shows its like tactical genius, or is like a tactical success, but whose strategic goals are vague. And like, I mean, you could really say the same. You could say the same thing about 9/11. Like, it was tactically a marvelous success. I mean, actually, their strategic goals actually seems like it was pretty well fulfilled by that. But like, what I mean here is like the strategic aim of this clearly is to start a war, open up a new front in this war, to start a war on the southern border of Lebanon, to recolonize parts of southern Lebanon, to cleanse it of Hezbollah, and like by Hezbollah I mean the people of southern Lebanon, and like they're trying to goad Hezbollah into a response that will be big enough that the media can point at it and be like, they fired first.
Yeah,
and they're in they're in an impossible situation now where they know that that's what Netanyahu wants, but at the same time, they're getting their fucking pagers blown up all, and now apartment buildings flattened in Beirut. And the thing is, they're already using the language about human shields, but to refer to Lebanon now, not Gaza.
They used it for this. They used it for the pager thing, which is, I mean, that just suggests that like the moment that someone like comes into your house with a gun, you are immediately in a state where you're using your family as a human shield. There's no way, like, obviously that any of these guys could have known that their pagers would be, have like 20 grams of explosives in them. But also at the same time, they consciously went into a grocery store, I guess, to use all those people as a human shield while keeping the pager in their pocket. It just doesn't make any fucking sense, but it's the same thing they do with everything else. The fact that Hezbollah is in an urban center is using a fucking human shield.
I think it's pretty clear that like the way that it's been adopted by the Western press and the government is that like human shields, because like it used to be like when you think of like people using human shields, it would literally be like like a bank robbery gone wrong, where like you like gather people in a building and put them in front of you so that you can like walk out and not get shot by a sniper, or like literally using to them their bodies to shield you personally from gunfire returning your way. But like it's very clear now that the Western press has adopted a new paradigm for what a human shield is, to refer to any human being who lives or is in the vicinity of any area or other group of people that could be defined as an enemy of Israel, or like resisting Israel's occupation or war or anything like that. And if you live in Beirut or Lebanon, you're now a human shield.
Basically, having a civilian population accounts
Yeah.
as a human shield. It's nonsense.
Right. And the closest thing they get to like acknowledging the horrors they inflict in English. In Hebrew, it's like, hooray, we blinded a fucking 4-year-old, or we wiped out this entire family. But in English, where they feel like they kind of have to hold it together a little bit, it's like, what a shame that, this kid's dad was such a piece of shit to be in Hezbollah. You would really not like this to be applied even 1% back at
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Because that would mean that it's time to fucking nuke Tel Aviv.
And I guess, and I always feel like the answer to this, like, whether it's just like, oh, well, it's a shame that those kids had to die because their parents were in Hamas or Hezbollah, or were resisting the Israeli occupational army. But the answer, I guess the answer is not to just be like, oh, well, they weren't, or, like, you can't do that anyway. I think like the natural response to me is like, well, why wouldn't they be in Hamas or Hezbollah? What would you do if you're trying to like have a future for your family under these circumstances?
Yeah. If someone fucking came and abducted your children, your grandmother, someone you knew, and fucking absconded with them to an unaccountable legal gray area where they are in detention for an indefinite amount of period, they have no legal rights, and during that time they are subject to systematic sexual torture. If someone turns off your electricity at will, your water, everything, I would hope that most people would have the wherewithal and courage to at least try to create a physical deterrent. I don't know what I would do. I don't think any of us do, and I'm very glad that we probably will never have to find out. But for the people that do actually face that, I can never and will never criticize how anyone fights back against that.